So the movie of the day is a movie called Still/Born that is also another Shudder exclusive. Getting a trend going here. And it starts out with a mother giving birth, and one baby comes out and she's all happy, and then they have another baby as well during that same birthing process, and things aren't quite as good as the first one. Also kind of given by the name of the movie. So then the movie kind of goes through what life is like after that, with only having one of the children that you expect. And like in the nursery room area where the baby's room is, there is 2 cribs, but only one of them is being used by a baby named Adam. And I think the name of the other baby's on the wall behind the other crib, but it doesn't ever actually fully show it, or maybe I just missed it. And just weird things start happening. The mom has a baby monitor system, and she hears some really weird noises over the baby monitor system, so she goes and checks the baby, everything's fine. She's like, okay, maybe it's the middle of the night, I just woke up, maybe I'm just groggy. And then, so she asks her husband to update the baby monitor system to a video live feed, and she sees like this figure lean over the bed and grab her child. And it just kind of escalates and escalates and escalates until she figures out that there's actually something trying to take her child. And the movie really takes a lot of twists and turns that I didn't expect. And that kind of left me like thinking and building my own kind of end to the movie, or what I thought the movie was going to end like. And I'll get back to that later. So overall, like, I think that things really done well in the movie. I really enjoyed the acting of the girl named Mary, who's like the main actress in the film, and just little weird things that they did to kind of really build an element of suspense in the movie, with little things like there's like a pressure sensor, or what it seems like is a pressure sensor on the bottom step that turns the light above this like staircase that goes like this. I don't know why I couldn't figure that out. And it kind of plays back into that where it just turns on by itself and stuff like that. But I think that a thing that really was good about this movie was the score. So I know, like, if you go back and watch old horror movies like The Shining, there's just over-the-top score that really kind of helps build the movie. And in the past, I took a humanities through film class, and one of the things that was really not touched on a ton, but kind of mentioned a couple times, was how much sound really affects a scene. And so I did my final project on that, where I filmed a couple different scenes that really were nothing too crazy, but when you add a score over top of it, it creates a sense of urgency, this sense of suspense, and how much that adds to it. And some movies really just go over the top with it, and it's just too much. But I really liked how they did it with this one, where they were able to build that urgency and have those sounds. A really common thing, kind of like in the Paranormal Activity movies, is that weird of the bass when like the entity is around. They kind of use a similar style thing when things were about to happen, and it's just cool to see that still being used, because it's not super common in movies anymore, because they go so much for like the pop out scare factor, the gore. This movie, there's like 1 or 2 little scenes that kind of have like little flickers of gore and stuff like that, but all in all, really not a gory movie. Not very many like jump scares. Just a lot of things that just really have you thinking, like, is this really happening, or is this lady just losing her damn mind? Example, the power goes out, so she sets the baby in a laundry basket right in front of the door of the garage, and then opens the garage door from the house, goes to flip the box, the door slams closed. She's like banging on the door, she can hear stuff on the other side going on, like this entity or whatever it is. And so she like lifts opens the actual like main garage door, runs around, punches the glass open on a glass door to then reach and unlock it, run and get to the baby. And when she gets to the baby's still there, everything's fine, but that door's open, like it was never closed. So then as you start thinking, like, is this actually happening, or is this lady just going through like post-pregnancy psychosis or something like that? So they did a really good job of just kind of keeping you guessing and really getting you to think, like, is this real or is this not real? And moving on to the spoiler zone. it never really answers that question, which is kind of nice. Like, I mean, it kind of does, but at the same time, kind of not. Really, like, I'm upset with the end of the film, but also kind of like the end of the film. So, all the crazy stuff happens, especially when she ends up in the hospital, and then she sees her husband, I think his name was Richard, and the next door neighbor lady, like on the couch, macking and doing all this stuff. So she just escapes from the hospital, bolts down there to realize that they're not actually there. And then she starts like realizing, like, maybe I'm going crazy, maybe this is actually happening, like, I don't know where like a baby is, I'm gonna steal your baby, I'm gonna sacrifice your baby. And so then it kind of just like it ends with that, because like the baby's fine, Richard shows up with the baby, and like her like last things that she ever sees is like to see that like the baby was fine and everything like that. So you kind of get the sense of like, okay, it was just all in your head, and this whole time you think that it could have been real, but really it was just in her head. And then Richard finds the Grace box that has the tapes, and it has the recording of when she was trying to communicate with the demon, I think is what it technically was, entity, whatever you will. And he listens to the playback of when she was communicating and had the baby monitor right next to the thing, and he can hear it, and he realizes like, oh fuck, maybe she wasn't actually crazy, she was actually like about this stuff. And then he goes to check on the baby, and then like there's that camera scene where he's just like looking over the cradle like this, and then the movie ends. And I really like that, but I also really hate that, because you don't know. And I kind of like the open to interpretation part of things, but with how much they flip-flop back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I wanted someone to tell me what happened. And that didn't happen. The mom, Mary, I don't know her actual name, I think that she did a phenomenal job. Like, especially like how like wide-eyed and like just crazy she looked, I thought was really, really well done. So I really appreciate that. Again, we kind of touched on the score. For me, that was a big plus side. And then just kind of the simplicity of it, with it really not being like a whole lot of craziness like that happened, like just really well playing on, like, I don't necessarily want to say it was a low budget movie, because that house looked expensive as hell. But just it didn't seem like they had to add a bunch to it. Like they had a solid story and a solid actress to execute that story. And that to me was something that I really enjoyed. Kind of going forward into what my overall review would be for this movie, it's getting tough, because I feel like both these movies that I've watched thus far, be it Host yesterday or Stillborn today, I thought they were both good watches. Like, I really don't have any complaints. Like, I would recommend my friend, like, hey, you gotta check this movie out, like, bananas. So for now, we're still gonna kind of stay in that realm of 8. Just because I wasn't like blown away by the movie, but I also was not disappointed in the slightest bit. I think that I'll give this one a 9 for now. And just because it was kind of a different story than something I had seen before, and the execution was just flawless. I love movies that just keep me guessing until the very last second. It's kind of cool that they actually like made a actual animation or actress of this demon creature thing, and did a really good job with like the twitching around and doing all that crazy stuff. But it just really wasn't much compared to like the pictures of like this like winged thing and all of like the like weird like sketchy like little like sketches that were in that Grace box when Mary started like researching this thing. So it wasn't quite up to par with that. So I'm kind of on the fence on that point. But all in all, I would definitely say easily I'll give this one a 9. I'm pretty content with this one. Check it out. It's worth the watch. It'll your head. It's not a crazy scary movie. It's just kind of one of those like psychological thrillers with like horror elements to it, obviously. I think that pretty much sums this one up.